What's up, guys? Welcome back to Games in Hand for another video here on the Lenovo Legion Go. We're taking a look at Banishers Ghost of New Eden here, and we're going to look at performance, but also I gotta say this game is absolutely fantastic, and huge shout out to Focus Entertainment for the early access here to check out the game and its performance on the handhelds, including the Lenovo Legion Go here. So getting into it, we're going to take a look at our settings and of course performance. We're going to do 20 watts, 30 watts, and a couple of different settings here when it comes to upscaling. I did have to stick borderless here currently on 1200 because it was giving me some issues in the capture. AMD FSR 2.2 on quality. We are going to take a look at some different options with that, and then we're just running the low preset but with medium textures because it didn't really affect my performance. We're running 6 gigs of VRAM, so we had plenty of room here, and it just looks a bit nicer. So anyways, low/medium here, FSR 2 quality, 20 watts, 6 gigs of VRAM. Now we'll go through these upscale options, just kind of give you a look at them. We're at about 36 FPS now. We go over to balanced and we'll get about 38, 39 FPS here at the 20 watts. Then we'll go over to performance and we'll get up to that, 42 FPS, 41 FPS here. So gives you a general idea. Of course, you're going to degrade image quality, but you can gain a little bit of performance there. Now, TAA at 90% would be another option, but it is a little lower on the FPS, just sitting still here without much going on. So I'm not sure how that'll hold up at the 1200p. But then 80% would actually get us kind of close to what like our balanced FSR would be or something like that, or maybe even quality to balance. So depending on what image quality you want to go with, what upscaler, that might give you a general idea of what to kind of play around with there. I'm going to tick back over here, FSR2 balanced. Yeah, you can see 38, 39, similar there. You can see there. And then we'll go ahead and switch to 30 watts, and you'll see a little boost now from that 38, 39 to 43 FPS here with those same settings. You don't get as much of a bump from the wattage change as you do at 800p, which we'll look at as well. But anyways, sticking with 1200 for now, FSR2 balanced, 30 watts here, and we'll bounce around a little bit on that. The game looks fantastic, especially on the Legion Go screen. It looks gorgeous no matter what here, and it's running really well. This game has been very surprising at how well it's running here, especially trying it out early before even really like day one patches and that type of thing. 20 watts and 30 watts next to each other with FSR quality and balanced here. You can see a bit of a difference, so depending on what kind of performance you're wanting to get, but that's why I kind of lean towards the balanced, and that's whether I'm at 30 or 20 watts here. Now if we go back to 20, you can see very similar. The thing is, it really just depends on where you're at, what you're doing, what the combat's like, how many NPCs there are, what part of the world, because it all performs a little bit different. But hopefully this gives you some general idea anyways. There's also this mechanic in the game of switching back and forth between the two characters, which is really cool, and it gives you a different view. But the other nice thing is there's no performance issue here. You don't get like a big spike in your frame time or a stutter, even if you're in combat or you're running, traversing the world, whatever the case may be. When I make that change, it's almost always a pretty smooth transition, which is really nice. Running around things like the villages, like New Eden and other areas that you're going to come across when you're out in the world playing the game, of course, performance can vary as well. Now, this is 30 watts here at the same settings, and it's running decently. We'll get up here to the top of the hill, and we'll switch it down to 20. Again, at 1200p versus 800, it just doesn't seem to be as much of effect on the performance between the two TDPs this way versus on 1200p versus the 800, at least just from what I've been seeing in my time messing around it here. But performance still really clean. We could have a lot more issues and frame time spikes and stuff like that. I don't mind the lower FPS, especially in populated areas like this, if the frame times are pretty good, which they seem to be in this game at 20 or 30. So we bump up to 30 watts here. You'll see we still come down to 37 FPS here. It doesn't solve all of that. So just keep in mind when you're looking at battery life, what experience you want to have the game and that kind of thing. You don't necessarily need to just crank everything. It's not necessarily gaining you all that. Now at 800p, same village idea here. Of course, we're going to run a little bit higher. Now I do have FSR2 on quality instead here of balanced, and we'll switch to 30 watts here, and you'll see a bit of a bump. I just feel like we get a little bit more out of the 800p maybe than we do the 1200 when we bump the TDP around. And messing around with the first boss fight here too, we got some great performance in FPS this way. But because there was less going on, it's really kind of true whether that's for 30 watts or 20, which we'll take a look at both here as well. But also the game is just a ton of fun. This being like the first boss fight, and being able to tweak your difficulty, this was a lot of fun. Now here's 20 watts here. Again, similar performance. We might not quite get up into the 70s or in the 60s as much as we were at 30, but we are still hovering in a nice solid frame rate with some pretty decent frame times, making this battle feel really good here on the Legion Go. So Same settings though, different area here. Now we've lost like 20 to 25 FPS, right? So it really depends on where you're at and what you're doing. But again, frame times are good, game feels good, looks great, and no major complaints. So anyways, guys, that's pretty much your performance for Banishers Ghost of New Eden here on the Lenovo Legion Go. This game is a ton of fun. I highly recommend it. One of my top ones right now so far for 2024. All right, guys, thanks a lot for coming and check out the video. As always, we really appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.